Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Okay, folks are finding their spaces. Okay, so good evening again. My name is Dr. Sharon Smith. I'm the Vice President for Educational Outreach and Access ASU. And I'd really like to thank you for joining us this evening as part of our Black Changemaker Series. And this is the second series. We had one last fall, it was very successful. And our work in Access ASU is really how do we support our communities in increasing the numbers of students, their families, who have access to education. And so our work started about 15, 16 years ago, where we were very intentional with working with key partner schools. And over the last 16 years, it's actually evolved to where we have strong partnerships with individuals from state of Black Arizona, with APS, Bank of America. And so this year, we launched our Black Changemaker Series because we recognize the importance of college attainment in our Black community. And so again, this is our second series. Our goal is to bring our Black community together to have important conversations about how do we increase college attainment, how do we think about access, but specifically for tonight, how are we thinking about keys to prosperity? And so with that, you will hear from a few different folks tonight. We have a panel for you, but I first would like to introduce Dr. Sheree Hertz, who's a program manager for strategic partnerships with APS. Sheree manages and implements strategies to enhance APS's outreach to Arizona constituencies and community partners, already focusing on positively impacting the relationship between APS and the community. So please join me in welcoming Sheree.
Thank you, Dr. Smith, for that introduction. And she's given a little bit of prophetic word there. I do not yet have my PhD, but maybe that's something I need to get on. Good evening, everyone. As she mentioned, my name is Sheree Hertz, and I am the Program Manager, Strategic Partnerships and Community Affairs for APS. I am personally very excited to be with all of you this evening. I've been looking forward to this event, and I came here filled with anticipation of listening to what I know will be a very lively and engaging panel discussion, highlighted no doubt by our keynote speaker, Dr. Chris Howard of ASU. So at APS, we have enjoyed our partnership with ASU. We have been working hand in hand for years as two organizations here in the Valley to support and encourage economic prosperity in the communities where we work and live and serve. Currently, we have a program with ASU. It's entitled the Diverse Workforce Initiative. And this partnership is helpful because we have a goal of creating an ecosystem and facilitating that ecosystem of support for Black and underrepresented students. And we want to make sure that these students have the supports that they need, all the way from the classroom, like I always say, up to the boardroom. Right, and supporting these students all the way through is really important. So this partnership with us and ASU has been going very well. One of the things I just wanted to share with you, all of you this evening, is that for APS, education is definitely one of our pillars in our focus areas. And so we are definitely looking forward to partnering with ASU in this endeavor. And also, economic empowerment as small business and entrepreneurship is also a focus area for APS. So we're looking forward to being with all of you tonight. We thank you for coming out. It's great to see so many of you in the audience and all of you who are joining us online. Thank you so much on behalf of APS for coming out this evening. And next, it's my privilege and honor to welcome up to the stage a colleague, a friend, a peer, Taniqua Broughton, Executive Director of the State of Black Arizona.
Thank you, Sheree, and good evening and welcome. Thank you, Arizona Public Service, for your commitment to this work, but the Black community and especially the state of Black Arizona. On behalf of the state of Black Arizona, our board chair, Dr. Felicia Ganther, members of our board and staff, we are pleased to have had the opportunity to team up with ASU's Educational Outreach and Student Services Department to provide you the second of 3 for our Black Changemaker Speaker Series focused on economic empowerment, mobility, and access. We are also grateful to the Greater Phoenix Economic Council, Arizona Community Foundation's Black Philanthropic Initiative, Arizona State University, Comerica Bank, and J.P. Morgan Chase for your support or sponsorship of this series. And thank you for your dedication and contributions to a very pressing matter in our community. Dr. Howard, thank you again for accepting our invite to be our keynote speaker today. Much appreciated. In March 2021, the State of Black Arizona and the Greater Phoenix Economic Council produced our inaugural State of Black Business Report. This report was an attempt to move beyond talking to utilize the data and actualize our recommendations. Since then, we have been able to embark on a number of collaborations and supporters partnering to make sure that there are intentional, targeted investments of political, social, and business capital that are a priority for building a better ecosystem for Black business owners and entrepreneurs for a more prosperous Arizona economy. This particular series focuses on targeted intentions to unveil the keys to prosperity for educational attainment and access to capital beyond for business owners and entrepreneurs. Know this issue is not just a Black issue. It's not for the Black community to solve. We need everyone to care and engage in our most pressing issue across the state. I've shared this before, but it is critical to set the tone today to hear about our current, past, and present understandings on this issue. Due to COVID-19 in the United States, the number of African American businesses plummeted from 1.1 million in February of 2020 to 640,000 in April, which is a loss of 440,000 Black business owners, representing a loss of 41% in literally 90 days. In the fall of 2021, in reading the Bank of America Business Advantage 2021 Hispanic and Black Business Owners Spotlight Report, Hispanic business owners reported needing more access to capital to grow their business, whereas Black owners reported needing more access to capital to just maintain and stabilize the operations of their business. This shows us we have work to do. So let's begin and look at the State of Black Arizona's one-pager that focuses on access to capital. You either received it at the registration, and those joining us online, it is in your email or inbox to take a look at. I just want to share some highlighting points that really set the tone as we get started with our panel. So Black people are highly underrepresented in the U.S. when it comes to entrepreneurship. We have the lowest entrepreneurship rate in any single race or ethnicity. The average is about 0.23 since 1966, compared to 0.41 for the Hispanic community and 0.3 for the white and Asian Americans. But there is good news. Black entrepreneur rate did slightly increase over the years. It is an impressive now 3.8% in 2020. Black entrepreneurs are also most likely to start a business out of necessity rather than opportunity. There are currently 1,019 Black-owned businesses in the Phoenix metro area. This accounts for about 1% of employer firms in the Phoenix metro area. However, Black and African Americans make up about 5.8% of the Phoenix metro area. If 5.8% of all Phoenix businesses were Black-owned, this would be an additional 4,900 Black-owned businesses in the Valley, and Phoenix Metro or all the cities that surround us. Data indicates that Black entrepreneurs struggle in the growth of their business. The average Black-owned business in Arizona has 9 employees. The comparison to the state average is 24 employees. Helping existing Black-owned businesses to achieve the same scale as their non-Black peers would net over 15,000 new jobs in the Phoenix metro area alone. COVID-19 has shed new light on these disparities. About 11% of Black-owned businesses received about $1 million or more in government assistance through the Federal Paycheck Protection Program and other resources, the highest proportion of any race or ethnicity. However, Black-owned businesses were less likely to have their PPP loans forgiven than any other racial group. These shortcomings present an opportunity for Phoenix, but our state. We can support the growth of Black businesses in our ecosystem by a few things. Listen, you might be able to help us. Leveraging the highly connected business community to draw on capital from within Arizona and outside of Arizona in the state for businesses or companies who want to expand. And today, we have one of those businesses on the panel. Building accountability partners with our financial institutions, and partnering with community organizations, nonprofits, educational institutions, and the government to provide resources to entrepreneurs. I just unpacked a lot. And with that, I want to introduce you to the panel to discuss their experiences, findings, and trends, and the opportunities around access to capital. Let's get started. Summer Fawcett. She is with Comerica Bank, the National African American Business Development Manager. Summer has over 20 years of experience in mortgage and in the banking industry. She previously held positions at Wells Fargo, Private Bank, and First Fidelity Bank. As the National African American Business Development Manager, she oversees financial education, small business literacy, and concepts for building wealth and community programs. Please welcome Summer Fawcett. Kerwin Brown, UPI's Loan Fund, Executive Director. UPI stands for United Progress International. Kerwin has over 30 years of experience in marketing and business development. In his role at UPI, he works to provide low-interest loans as an alternative to predatory lending for those who charge exorbitant rates to people in need. They lend to the unbanked and the underbanked population. Please welcome Kerwin Brown. Justin Dawson, Collab Capital Managing Partner. Justin has over 15 years of experience in marketing, technology, and entrepreneurship. He has started several startup companies himself. Additionally, he has contributed to digital marketing success at UPS, General Mills, and Honda USA. Currently, Justin coaches thousands of small businesses, startups, and creatives with investments through Collab Capital. Please welcome Justin Dawson. Ivan O. Garcia, J.P. Morgan Chase, Vice President and Senior Business Consultant. Ivan has over 20 years of experience in the financial services industry. He currently oversees products and programs to support small business owners, especially the communities of color. Please welcome Ivan O. Garcia. Rachel Wilson, Collab Capital, Principal and Head of Operations. Rachel has over 10 years of experience in global work in various industries such as automotive, healthcare, and food and beverage. As the Principal of Head of Operations, she runs the VC of Ops and the fund governance processing of the fund. Please welcome Rachel Wilson. And our moderator, Robin S. Reed, the Black Chamber of Arizona's president and CEO. Robin has over 30 years of experience in business development, strategy execution, and talent optimization. He currently owns several businesses and considers them executive performance consulting companies. As the president and CEO of the Chamber, he works to build and bridge gaps for Black business owners. Please welcome Robin S. Reed. Robin, the panel is yours.
Thank you very much, Taniqua. So I will tell you that as soon as Taniqua asked me to moderate this panel, I said yes, because I tend to always say yes when she asks for something. But then when I saw who the panelists were, I realized I would have asked her if I could do this, because this is an incredible group of individuals. So if we can jump, well, I want to add something really quickly, though. That was really stunning data that was shared relative to what would happen if we right-sized Black business ownership here in Arizona. If you get a chance, look at the national numbers as well. I believe it was the Brookings Institute last year that came out with a study that said if we just right-sized the Black economy nationwide, it would add $1.6 trillion to our economy. Think about that. That's what the rescue plan cost us, $1.6 trillion. So if we had just right-sized one community, we could have afforded that. We wouldn't have needed so much of that help. So just something to keep in mind. But this data is really valuable, and I applaud Taniqua and the state of Black Arizona for doing that work, because it's been so long that we have been looking for this information so that we can put forth the efforts that we need to help our businesses and work better together to get the results that we're looking for. So let's jump right in, because I'm excited about this. So we're going to start with you, Summer. You know, we've known each other for years. I have watched you continue to elevate yourself and be an example for excellence in financial services. But tell us a little bit about your role at Comerica and how you use that to leverage greater opportunities and access to capital.
Absolutely. So a lot of people don't realize this, but banks weren't always on board for helping communities of color for a long time. And it was almost as banks look at everything as a transactional. So my position was born out of the pandemic. It was, how do we get to, one of those things of, we didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, just like Black people don't know what we don't know when it comes to business. Banks don't know what they don't know when it comes to people. So they were in that brainstorm kind of sessions of teach us, help us, tell us what we're doing wrong, let us know what we need to change, let us know what we need to do. And we needed kind of a spearhead to go into the communities. And that's how my position came about. It was, we need someone to relay the information to us of what's needed in the Black communities. And then we also want to relay the information to the Black community of what can we do to help support? What can we do to get this information out to you? The information that you provided, Taniqua, we've been looking for that information for a long time, and sometimes the data just isn't correct because we're just like, we're living this, we know this, it's not actually there. So my position is really there to shine a light on what's going on, good, bad, indifferent, on what's going on in the Black businesses, Black communities, kind of like Black homes as well. Because when we get to a point where there is a trust issue, banks don't realize that there's a trust issue within the Black communities as Black-owned businesses. We don't always trust the banks. It's not because we don't understand or we don't believe that they're going to do what they're going to do. We just don't trust people who don't look like us sometimes. It's just part of our DNA. It's just how we grew up. And so my goal, my position is kind of to break those cycles of what the bank can do for the community and then what the community can do for the bank, where we can position ourselves, how we can bring an influx of money into our communities, back into our state, back into our homes. So Right now, well, for the last year, we went on a listening tour, listening to all different communities throughout the country, seeing what's needed, what can we do to kind of leverage what you have, make sure we have our supplier diversity better, in a better position, you know, making sure that we're buying the products from our Black-owned businesses, making sure that there's a space on the shelves for Black-owned businesses, making sure that we're like tech, making sure our tech is through Black-owned businesses and businesses of color. So my goal is to make sure that that continues, that you know, hoopla isn't just over the last 2 years. We're still here. We've been here. We're still here. So we're not going to stop. But it's really to make sure that we bring the finances in, make sure that there's access to capital, and making sure that these businesses not just survive through this time frame, but thrive. And I know that's a big deal for a lot of people. We want to make sure that you're in a better position now than you were in 2019 when it comes to being a business.
Great, thank you so much, Summer. So to Kerwin, and many of you may not know, but Kerwin is actually a former leader of the Black Chamber of Arizona, but a respected and highly regarded community leader here in the Valley for decades. So really excited to have him here. Kerwin, tell us a little bit about what the work you're doing at UPI and how your approach is unique as it looks to assist Black-owned businesses.
Sure, and thank you. Thank you for, am I on? Yeah. Okay. I really have been, and Taniqua knows, I've been looking for data for a long time. I've been associated with the state of Black Arizona for a long time, and have been just waiting for someone to do the research and give us the data on Black-owned businesses. We started UPI Loan Fund because we felt like not only Black-owned businesses were being disenfranchised, but individuals were not getting the access to capital that they needed. What we realized is you could have a car repair that you needed done to get to work. You could need to buy a new stove or refrigerator. And very often, there was not a bank product that fit what you were looking for. We started that for the consumers, and that's why we had to keep them away from a lot of the, I'll say, the predatory lenders, the title loans and payday loans. That was our initial goal. The pandemic hit. And what we were able to do is raise some funds, once again, with the help of APS, and actually issued grants to small businesses. And what that told us, what that told us was that even a small grant to a business could help them stay afloat until some of the other funding allowed them to pivot. So we realized that the program that we had put together as a nonprofit to do lending to individuals was not only vital to individuals, but it was also vital to small businesses. I'm glad to hear what Summer is saying as far as the way banks are looking to make some changes and identify and recognize what is happening, especially in the Black community. Because there was a study done some time ago, actually by a bank, that said that disparities in the Black community, especially to businesses, cost the economy over $1 trillion. I've never understood why everybody involved would not want to help elevate individuals so that they could have businesses, so that they could buy homes, because of what it does for the overall economy. What it does for the community, what it does for the city, the state, the entire nation, if we just give a hand up, not a hand out, but a hand up. We started this so that we could recycle dollars into the community. We did not want to just give money to buy something or to do something, but by lending and recycling dollars, we really felt like we could make a difference. And so far, I think we have.
Great, thank you. Justin, so tell us a little bit about Collab Capital. What does it do? What do you offer?
Yeah, I love talking about Collab Capital because I'm an entrepreneur. Myself and my partners, Joel Burke, Solomon, Barry Givens, we were blessed and fortunate to be in the basement of the historic Biltmore Hotel in Atlanta, where we had a small group of black founders and other entrepreneurs. You could count them on two hands, and we started our companies around the same time, literally within like 6-7 months of each other. And so we were there for each other, trade war stories, help with fundraising strategies, and so we were able to build a rapport and a relationship. And we had challenges raising money. This was around 2012, 2013, so quite a while ago now. And so we committed ourselves then to solving this problem, or at least trying to attack it in various ways as we would continue to grow our businesses and exit our businesses, whatever that may be. And so we all had various degrees of success, I would say. And so we committed ourselves to like really being entrepreneurial. We wanted to stay entrepreneurial. So we consider ourselves capital entrepreneurs. We looked at the markets and we saw that there was a gap. There was a gap for those that could not walk into a bank, that had a startup idea, right? Which is very different than a small business, but then didn't have necessarily fit the venture scale model right away, didn't know those things, or did not have the network capital relationships to obtain that capital. So we built a new financial product, which is called the Space Agreement, which focused on optionality for black founders and entrepreneurs, but we will open source that soon. So it can be for anybody, for anyone that wants to explore and use that instrument. But ultimately, we wanted to make sure that we could also produce returns for our investors. So we wanted to make sure we can maximize that. So that's what that tool does. So we built this because we're entrepreneurs and we saw a problem in the market where venture capital was inaccessible to many, and banks weren't an option yet because they didn't have the tenure, the business model, or the revenue to really to obtain those types of things like loans, which are great products, which are great when you fit the criteria needed to do that. So we're excited about what we're doing and happy to get on the road and tell more and more people about our instrument and our model.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Ivan, so you and I have had many conversations recently, and I just want to share with everyone how impressive it is to see Chase, as I say, at the street level. They're really approaching this not from the corporate boardroom, but they're really getting down at street level and getting involved directly with some of the businesses, and it's really great to see. Tell me more about your role at Chase and how that impacts what we're trying to do in the black community.
Yes, 2 years ago, Chase Bank made a commitment of $30 billion. It was a racial equity commitment. It doesn't mean that we start just to give $30 billion away. What this means is that we invested this money and we provided it in resources. Out of those resources, we have community bankers, minority specialists, minority consultants, and we're sharing it in knowledge. In other words, these new roles came out and about. My role is to focus on minority businesses, consult, coach, and connect internally and externally. What does that mean? Just being able to provide a platform for them. They need to get certified as a minority business. If they want to get connected to the diversity supplier program, things like that. That's who I am. This is what I do. And I'm loving it. We've had some great feedback in the community. We're starting to make a change. The numbers that were provided earlier, pay attention to those numbers. There's going to be a benchmark. There's going to be progression. There's going to be a big movement. And you're going to start to see that impact because knowledge is power. And we're going to start sharing that with our teachers, in our teams, and our consultants as well.
That's great. That $30 billion pledge, that was over how many years?
It's a 5-year commitment.
And how long has it been going?
2 years.
And am I correct that you guys have actually already committed $18 billion of that?
Yes, sir.
So you're ahead of schedule.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's great to see. Rachel, so you and I just had a moment to have a conversation, and now I'm more interested than ever. So we've been talking about access to capital. What are some of the other ways that corporations and large businesses can invest in black-founded and startup companies?
Well, thank you. I just want to, say thank you to Taniqua and the state of Black Arizona for inviting us out here. Collab hails and is headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. So shout out to the A. But it's a great question because capital access is very important. But I always say that we can give a bunch of people a lot of money. However, if they can't sustain their business, then it's really going to go nowhere. And other ways that we can get capital get, other access is through network and resources. Supplier diversity as well, too, is really, really important. If we think about how we can create private-public partnerships that can really engage into cities and ecosystems that support entrepreneurs and being able to make sure that they can be able to do more with the city or states, or peer-to-peer opportunities where a Black business says, I need this particular type of service, I don't do this really well in-house, but who can I outsource this to within my community to do that? A lot of times, there's always this look at trying to go after the corporation, trying to go after federal, government dollars, and those are really great business avenues as well. But there are ways for us to be able to, keep circulating the dollar, which was eloquently said, to make sure that we can have more and more of us working with each other. But I definitely think that supplier diversity, finding ways where we can engage more businesses to do more and have more dollars spent with them is really going to make a huge impact. Giving them more contracts, and then also looking at the ways in which we allow for them to work with those companies too. So if you look at just some of the data around supplier diversity, there is billion-dollar roundtable companies, very huge Fortune 500 companies that are making these commitments. But when you actually look at the dollars that were spent, even if you just look at the past 2 years and what happened in 2020 with all the social unrest, supplier diversity, the amount of numbers and the data there is still pretty much the same. There wasn't a huge impact that would change the way that people think about doing business with Black businesses, that helping Black businesses is really going to help Main Street and also help other companies as well. And even looking at how venture is, like, you hear all these great numbers of how much was spent. So just in 2021, or the tail end of 2021, there were $1.8 billion spent for startup Black founded companies. But when you ask, so the other half of that, non-Black businesses, how much was spent there, how much was invested? $330 billion. So there's definitely a huge disparity in terms of the amount of investment. And then when on top of that, you put in certain requirements that don't allow them to engage into doing business with other corporations who say that they have these programs, that also puts a stopgap and barriers to entry as well. So we have to find ways where we're reducing the barriers to investment, but also reducing the barriers to doing business with these companies as well.
Okay, thank you. So one of the things that Taniqua mentioned when she was sharing some of the data was that Black businesses more often start out of necessity versus opportunity. Yeah. We know, many of us are entrepreneurs, we know that when you start a business out of opportunity, it's because you're trying to create generational wealth. You want to create legacy wealth. Summer, I'm going to start with you because I know your family, so tell me, what trends or opportunities or challenges are you seeing for the Black community in creating generational wealth?
One thing, so take my bank hat off and put on my entrepreneur hat, talking to other Black-owned businesses, like, what did you do with your PPP money? Like, I should not see gold watches and like fancy cars and stuff, like, and that I do know it's an unfortunate thing that a lot of Black-owned businesses did not get that forgiven, and that's a whole nother topic. But when it comes to the issues, some of us had access to capital. What did we do with it? Did we gain the knowledge? Did we figure out? Did we get CPAs and bankers and we have this conversation all the time. But it's your resource group, right? Your people that you need to spend the money on. But most of us say, I'm not going to spend the money on that. I need inventory, or I need this. But you need a CPA. You need a lawyer. You need a banker. Like, you need these things just as much as you need that inventory to sell and to get that money in. So that's what we're seeing is we've gotten the money. Great. What do we do with that money? Are we still in business? Are we still in a bad situation? Are we growing? Did we expand? Did we ask for help? What are we doing with this newfound time and opportunities from kind of like the outside world? They see everything we're doing now. Where are we going with it? So that's what I'm saying. The access to capital is there. I mean, Kerwin, everybody's just kind of showing like, yes, we have money. Yes, we're going to give you marketing funds. Yes, we're going to give you the dollars to do what you need to do to grow. But you have to do something from that point. And I think that's where that knowledge gap is starting to shine. Like, we have money now, but what do we do with it? And that's where that gap is. And it's hard because we're listening to people that are around us opposed to listening to the people that are supposed to give us the information and the resources and the knowledge. Stop listening to our mamas and our dads who, you know, owned a company, but they ran it completely different than what we're supposed to run it, right? And that was, again, highlighted during 2020 as well. But listening to the resources, no matter what color they are, listening to the resources that are able to gain us access to not just capital, but gain us access to grow and to move forward.
Right. That's great advice. Kerwin, so I know how much you value data in creating value to the community, that the data is the core of it, right? If we don't know what's broken, we don't know how to fix it.
Absolutely.
Tell me, what was your initial reaction to hearing some of this data?
Well, I mean, it wasn't a big surprise, but it was nice for it to be documented. I'll put it that way. I want to speak though on the whole idea of the PPP money and what people did with it. There's all too many black businesses that are entrepreneurs. They don't have employees, you know, so they didn't qualify for PPP money. And I think, you know, it's a lot of those individuals. I totally agree that education is something that our businesses need to be involved in. But I also, when you talk about all of the funds that came down the pike, our folks didn't get that money because we didn't fit the bill, okay, to qualify for a lot of the government funding that came down. That's why when we raised money and gave out grants, a lot of these people were individuals. They were individual businesses, or they were family businesses run by a mom and pop, you know, trying to get the kids to come in and help. They didn't qualify. So I think what we need to really kind of focus on when it comes to access to capital is where's the capital coming from and who is it for? Because I don't think that has been distinguished, you know, adequately so that to help those people grow. The data that you're talking about, I think will help. The data will certainly help identify who's getting the money, where the money's going, and what it should be for. And I think education is a big piece of, you know, we're very involved with a business accelerator through Local First that's specifically for African American businesses. And when I look at where they start and where they finish after 6 months of going through that class, these now they're ready.
Right, and you're referring to the We Rise program?
The We Rise program.
Yeah, so anyone, if you get a chance to look at Local First, they have a phenomenal program. I think they keep about 10 or 12 people per cohort.
The cohorts are growing. Oh. I think the last cohort is closer to 20. Okay. And they're on their third or fourth cohort. But it's something that's very, very much needed.
Yeah, certainly. Ivan, I'm going to come back to you. Talk to me about supplier diversity, specifically minority supplier diversity. What are the trends you're seeing, some of the challenges and some opportunities that exist?
I think it's a lack of knowledge of how easy it is, what resources are in the community. It's so easy to, you know, utilize Google sometimes or online, and unfortunately some people just forget. Since it's such an important thing, they want to hear it from somebody else or somebody that knows somebody. So those warm intros, my success, and you know, I have a great relationship with one of our nonprofits locally, and we were just talking about that. The last 2 months, I've referred over almost 50 possible minority certification candidates. And that demand is so high, and it's because some of them want to grow, right? And they don't know how to grow. They don't know how to get government contracts. and they need that additional resource. The benefit about this is that once we do get them certified, right, I'm able to connect internally with Chase Bank and get them part of that business supplier program. But I take it a step further. Right now, I was actually talking to APS, and I'm like, I need a contact there, because all my mentees want to have that additional resource, and now that they get certified, they want to utilize that benefit. You know, they're going to get access to capital, they're going to get other business opportunities, growth, and it's just the beginning of what you could do. I think one of the numbers that I was looking at, according to the $1 Billion Roundtable, 28 Fortune 500 companies spent $1 billion each year on diverse suppliers. So that's a nice chunk that's available for our communities. And that could get even bigger if there's a higher demand. So I encourage everybody to take the time to do the research. I'd love to come in. If you have questions, I'd be willing to participate and take the time to kind of give you more research on how we can do it.
That's great. And just so you know, we also have something, a little smaller boutique that we created in Arizona called the $1 Million Circle of Excellence. So it's like the $1 Billion Roundtable, but it's companies that have at least $1 million annual diverse spend. So, you know, we're doing our best to kind of stay up to speed with that. So Rachel, this is going to be for you, because I've gone through all the questions, so I get to freestyle now. But
Hit me.
So tell people, what is pre-seed capital? A lot of people hear private equity or venture capital or, you know, seed capital, and they don't know what it means. But specifically, you guys focus on pre-seed capital, correct?
Pre-seed and seed.
Pre-seed and seed, okay.
Exactly.
Describe, I'll kind of let you guys tag team on this one. Describe what that is for those that don't know.
So I would say the easiest way to think about it is a company that is in the midst of building something. They have a concept or idea. They've got a good understanding of, you know, the market that they're trying to go after. Maybe identified some of their customers as well, but they're looking for some capital to be infused to help them to execute on those ideas. Maybe they haven't created what is called a minimal viable product, MVP, meaning that there's like an app or there's a starter service or product that they're trying to get out to the market. So this influx of investment will help them to make that thing, and then from there being able to assess data and information around what that product is. That's pre-seed. Seed is like, okay, I've got the MVP, you know, I've maybe got a little bit of traction, but I'm trying to grow to actually have some, you know, better sustainability and ubiquity with the customers I'm trying to go after, whether that is from a disruptive perspective where, you know, you are trying to overtake a particular market, say you want to be the next Uber, and so now you're at a point where you're probably getting some investment beyond just friends and family. You're starting to raise some money beyond just the accelerators or grant programs that you've had, which is normally in the pre-seed stage. And we try to find those companies that fit in those pockets, because that's where you're going to see, you know, some of the higher risk, but also the higher reward, you know, when there is an exit that happens later with the company, whether that is IPO, M&A, you know, or in our case, trying to also build legacy businesses that can reach that $10 million mark and continue to provide jobs, hold on to that business, and share it off with their families or employees.
I have nothing else to say.
So that was coming. Okay, so as we come to a close, this is for each of you, and we'll just kind of work our way down the line. In a sentence or two, from your perspective, what does a Black business owner need to do to be prepared to succeed in this new economy?
That wasn't on the list. Okay. A Black business owner needs to be open, able to make changes. And I know that word pivot from 2020, but same thing, but 2022. They need to listen. They need to stay open-minded, and they need to see where they want their business to be 5 years from now. and understand that just because it might not have worked today doesn't mean it won't work tomorrow. Many businesses, and this is the last statement, many businesses are built on tiers, meaning the first business, they made 50,000. The second business, they made 100,000. The third business, they may have gotten to 500,000. But it's very rare where you're going to find one business owner who had one business idea that got them to $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, because it's all based on not failing, but learning and growing and building a new business.
Great, thank you. Kerwin.
I think that what any business in this new economy should be doing is thinking outside the box. Take a look at exactly what business you're looking to get into. Make sure that it is scalable, because there's too many businesses that you can get in and you reach a plateau real quick, and that's all you can do. Why do you want to be there? Take a look at what the business is, how you can scale it, have a plan, and write the plan out, and build on it from there.
That's great advice. Thank you. Justin.
I have two. I'm going to cheat. I would say the first is get your paperwork right. Like, that's huge. Get a lawyer, get a CPA.
Know your numbers.
Know your numbers. It's
All the things.
essential. It doesn't matter if you're going into a bank, you come in and talk to us as a venture capitalist. You got to have that in order, and if we have to spend too much time there, I say time kills deals. So if we have to spend a bunch of time reworking paperwork, we got to dig into it. We're not going to do it. It's just not, no, that's not our job. Our job is to help you grow the business. If we're doing that, we're spending time in the wrong area of the business. So you at least have those things together, and we can get you together if it's not quite there, but at least have a, you should be talking to your CPA, right, about your financials. We should be talking to your lawyer about your structure and your governance, right? So that's the first one. The other thing is, I think sometimes businesses forget to collaborate laterally. You know, if I'm ordering pens and pencils and you need pens and pencils, let's figure out how to buy pens and pencils together as opposed to doing these things in silos. We need greater collaboration within our ecosystems to bring group economics on the business level as well. So whether that's supplies, whether that's technical talent, whether that's, you know, manufacturing, if we need these things collectively, if we have fashion businesses and we're doing screen printing, let's invest in a screen printing or a co-screen printing facility or space, or these are the things that we can go to the bank collaboratively to. These are things we can go to policymakers. These are things we can go to our government officials and say, hey, these are the things that we need. And we're coming as a group who are also constituents. These are people that want your vote. These are people that want to loan you money. So doing, you know, being more collaborative and also looking beyond your state lines. I know it can be difficult to do that, but, you know, we're very, very excited to have a presence here and establish one here. We do collaboration with small businesses here already. I didn't think about it, but Lionel and Anurup are somewhere around here with Inflect Digital. There you are. And they actually provide a service to one of our portfolio companies, and they've done lots of work for us and for some of our portfolio companies. So looking to collaborate, I think, is something that every business should look to do because we can only get there together. It's a journey, and you do not want to do it alone.
Great, thank you.
I also have two.
Okay.
The first one would be technology. The world has evolved. After COVID, it's changed. The consumer has changed. Without technology, you're not going to survive. You have to embed whatever business model that you have to have that piece of technology, a platform that's going to make it easy, that's going to connect you to everybody else in the outside world. That would be one. The other would be, and I always talk about this, but look for a mentor. Find somebody that's relative to your industry or to your business. You'd be surprised. There's some business owners that have been in the business for 50 years, and they're willing to open up and tell you how they got into it, and sometimes they even share their trade secrets just because they like you. You know, and you never know. You might even be part of that when they exit that business. But there's a lot of people that are willing to collaborate and share those best practices. You just got to be out there, like in these events, and make friends and start building relationships in the community. You never know who's going to be the next one that's going to give you that extra hand.
Yeah, thank you.
Man, it's a great question. My thing that I would say is find a great number two. A lot of people want to be the number one. They want to be the founder, the lead founder, the CEO. But what I see a lot of founders always missing is that other person that can hold them accountable, who doesn't care about, you know, maybe the marketing side of the business. This person really cares about operations, about the numbers, about the team. If you get a really good team, you get a really good person that can be your number two, who really doesn't care so much about the fame and the glory, you will see how you will stand above the rest of other people. A lot of times people focus so much on, you know, how can they, you know, get the limelight. You know, I want to put all the blogs out about the investment I just got or the grant thing that I just won. But behind the scenes, if no one is keeping the day-to-day working or having the conversations with your dev team, you know, building the other relationships outside of what you're doing on fundraising, then you're going to have a lot of gaps that are going to then mess up what you could have built and the sustainability of your business as you continue your business. So I would say very much look to finding help. I think, as Justin had said, collaboration is really key. I think there's going to be a need for more of us to figure out ways to have that additional person a part of the team and less solo opportunities, because we're going to have to do and build things together.
I got mine.
Yep, there you go. There you go. So thank you. This has been great. We're going to end with this. So one of the things that I've begun to tell small business owners is, before you go around anywhere, watch 5 episodes of Shark Tank. And write down every question every shark asks, even if it's the same question. If you look at the top 100 questions that are asked on Shark Tank, the top 3 really touch on Rachel's point, right? Sales, marketing, operation. Sales, what are your sales? Marketing, how are you different or better than your competition? That's a marketing question. Operations, how much does it cost to make your product? Those are the top 3 out of thousands of episodes of this show by now. So remembering the basics, perfect the basics before you start looking for shortcuts. Thank you very much. This has been a phenomenal panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robin, and to the rest of our panelists for that insightful, important, critical conversation. I hope you all gleaned as much as I did listening to the business experts, the entrepreneurs share, again, their expertise with all of us this evening. So I'd like to take a few minutes, first of all, introduce myself. Good evening, my name is Vanessa Ruiz, and I have the privilege of serving as Deputy Vice President within Outreach, Educational Outreach and Student Services. We are the ASU portion of this partnership that is able to bring this event to you all this evening, along with the State of Black Arizona and APS. I would also like to take a quick minute to thank everybody who has made this evening possible. Special shout out to our Executive Director, Christina Avila, who has been a partner in, again, putting all of this together, and of course, our great Access ASU team members who greeted you at the door, who helped you find your way. Hopefully you didn't get too lost when you found the parking lot and then were able to come up here. So thank you all, everybody. We couldn't have done this evening without you. So after that terrific panel, we have more for all of you. So I really want you to listen and pay attention to this short bio, because as I was reading it, I said, my goodness, I really haven't done much with my life. That was really the first thought that came to mind. But in all seriousness, it is an honor and a privilege to have our keynote speaker with us tonight. So Dr. Chris Howard is currently the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of the ASU Public Enterprise. Howard works closely with President Crow and the other executive vice presidents to coordinate enterprise-wide initiatives and advancement, oversee ASU enterprise affiliates, advance new enterprise relationships and opportunities, and integrate ASU enterprise planning and strategy. He is also a distinguished graduate of the United States Air Force Academy and earned a doctorate from the University of Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. He also earned an MBA with distinction from Harvard Business School, and in 2018 received the school's Alumni Achievement Award. Howard won the Campbell Trophy, the nation's highest academic award for a senior college football player. Howard's military career included service as a helicopter pilot, also as an intelligence officer, and he was awarded a Bronze Star for service in Afghanistan.
Previously, Howard served as the 8th president of Robert Morris University in suburban Pittsburgh, beginning on February 1st, 2016. Under Howard's leadership, RMU became a preferred strategic partner for corporations, organizations, also professionals in the Pittsburgh region and beyond. RMU also completed the largest capital project and comprehensive campaign in the university's 100-year history. In 2021, U.S. News & World Report ranked RMU number 48 on the magazine's list of best value schools, a reflection of RMU's high academic quality and also its affordable price. Before serving at RMU, Howard was president of Hampton-Sydney College in Virginia. During Howard's tenure there, the college grew enrollment, improved diversity. It also boosted retention and raised its endowment. Previously, he served as Vice President for Leadership and Strategic Initiatives at the University of Oklahoma and also had a successful corporate career with GE and Bristol-Myers Squibb. Howard serves on the Harvard Board of Overseers and previously served on the Baylor University Board of Regents, the Board of Directors of the American Council on Education, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. He chaired the NCAA Honors Committee, and he holds 5 honorary doctorates. His wife, who is also here with us this evening, Barbara Noble Howard, serves as an Arizona State University Fellow for Nonprofit Leadership and hails from Johannesburg, South Africa. The Howards have 2 adult sons, Cohen, who is a graduate of the University of the South, and Joshua, who graduated from Middlebury College. It is my honor now to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Chris Howard.
I feel like the funniest thing, you see all those nice things and I trip and fall down. They're like, he's not that impressive. He can't even walk. Taniqua, thank you so much for this wonderful event. Vanessa, thank you for that elegant and thoughtful, just being who you are. What a great introduction. And thank you for highlighting my wife in the back, Barbara Howard. And also I'm gonna highlight some great people. My team, Katie Burke, Carrie Robinson, and Xavier Hickman. Y'all stand up real quick, get a round of applause. Thank you. As if they had a choice to come out. I pay them, it's not that big of a deal. Also, I want to thank the theme music. That was great walking up with the theme. I wanted to go with Shaft. Because y'all did some music instead of Shaft, but I thought, that's all right. I appreciate having theme music coming up here. And they say to my new friend, I never want to get your card, because this was a wonderful panel. They say in Hollywood, and ASU has just built a wonderful facility in Hollywood and LA, but you should never follow children when you do a talk or whatever, because there's still a scene. I'm not calling y'all kids, but I'm sorry to be coming up after you all, because the panel was on point. It was thoughtful, it was great, yes. It was informative, and it was doggone good. And I'm smiling because I'm coming from Pittsburgh. You heard a little bit from my introduction. And there's a guy that approached me named Jim Gibbs. He is a Carnegie Mellon graduate, great brother. He has I met him through some leadership things in Pittsburgh. He has a company called Meter Feeder. And Meter Feeder uses technology from your, maybe you know it, yeah? I'm an investor. Use your cell phone, and you can load up your meter on your phone so you can get a ticket. And also, it works with the police side, so if you're going to get a ticket, it works with them as well. So he's playing both sides against the middle. And, he's gone through a pre-seed, seed funding round. I got approached, and it's one of those great stories. And they try to raise about $100,000 through some black investors to go out and do another raise. They raised about $2.7 million through, I think it's called Trucks VC, which is Daimler Chrysler and Ford, and a couple other companies. $2.7 million raised, so expected a post-money, and if you don't know all this stuff, look it up, because this is what we need to be able to talk. So the post-money valuation was anticipated to be $15 million, it's $20 million, so I made 20% of my money, which is great. Black wealth, black excellence, hashtag Chris Howard, get paid. But more importantly, it's just a great story, because he took these local black investors and went to a larger group of VC and institutional investors and said, this is what we want to do post-George Floyd. We want to do this. We want to talk about pre-money, post-money, so forth and so on, and IPOs and, you know, big government contracts and so forth and so on. So I wanted to lift that up as a great story. Now, I'm going to move at a fast pace because it's getting late, and I know y'all are hungry. People looking at your phones and Instagram and tweeting and everything. So I'm going to move at a fast pace. I'm going to be brief, be bright, be gone. How's that? So tech, touch, tenderness, and toughness. All I can do in this conversation, I've been here for 2 months. So I am brand spanking new. That's a new executive smell on me. If you smell it, I'm very, very new. So my narrative is actually more of my narrative where I came from. So my talk's going to be a little bit about the school I came from, and a little bit of what we did there that speaks to empowering people of color, black people, to be successful, and a little bit about my personal journey, because if I get to know you and you get to know me, you know my values, my codes, how I see the world, then I can help you, you can help me, and we can help folk. And I use that word deliberately. I want to help folk, black, brown, green, purple, LGBTQ, you know, everything. Maybe not U of A, but you know, we'll help the U of A people. They're all right. So this is RMU. Our model was and was trademarked, registered. We were big enough to matter, small enough to care. Just outside of Moon Township, just outside of Pittsburgh, about 4,500 students. And what should we point over here? And as was said before, top 10% or so of universities for best value, affordability, and also excellence. So very, very proud of that. Where should I be pointing? What should I be pointing? Over here? Over here? Pointing over here? Yeah, okay, there we go. So we have had a great actuarial science program, one of the best top 26 in all of the world. In addition, great speaker series, people like Henry Meyer from FedEx Ground coming out there, Dave McCormick, CEO of Bridgewater. People that love money know Bridgewater. Ray Dalio, it's the largest private equity, hedge fund in the world. And that's a friend of mine. He's actually running for senator right now. Great speaker series, great basketball program. We built that wonderful arena in our capital campaign. We were ahead of Pitt by 1 point at the half. And I said, let's stop the game because we're going to win. We didn't stop the game. They kept playing. We lost. But it was great to be able to play them in basketball. We have about 50,000 alumni. Now, Robert Morris, I just want a little bit of history lesson. It's kind of fun. Robert Morris, who was Robert Morris, right? So he was a pretty interesting guy. He was a financier of the American Revolution because we were a school that's focused on business and finance from our origins. Robert Morris was the first U.S. senator. He let George Washington stay in his home when the capital of the United States was Philadelphia all those years ago in the early 1780s or thereabouts. So that's the man, the myth, and the legend. You know, he was one of these, you know, Arizona and Arizona State talked a lot about civics these days. He's a neat guy because he signed all 3 of the sacred texts of the United States of America. He signed our Declaration of Independence. He signed our Articles of Confederation. He signed our Constitution. I like to say at ASU, at RMU, that we call that the RMU 3-pointer. The fact that he signed all 3 of those documents was kind of cool. Y'all didn't know he would joke like that back in the day. He was getting this little lift on. It's a little bit about my school. So why did I come to ASU, though, right? I like golf. You know, it's cold in Pittsburgh, a lot of snow. And I'm not great, and I'm going to go out there and beat up the course on Saturday with Xavier, my wife. But I like golf, but that's not why I came here. That's actually a picture taken the day I left. So if you want to recruit somebody to come to Arizona State, get them in Pittsburgh on February 5th when it was 19 degrees, right? So I didn't come here just because the weather's great. And by the way, the day we came here, Arizona State University beat UCLA in basketball in triple overtime, right? Woo-hoo, give it up. First time in 46 years an unranked team beat a top 5 team in triple overtime. That's pretty cool. And I take full credit for that. That was my first day here. But I didn't come here for the basketball, the golf, the good weather. People think I came here because of my friend Michael Crow, who's a terrific guy. If you met him, you think he's an android. He works all the time. He's an amazing guy. I love him to death. But I didn't come here for him in those obscene hand gestures, actually. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. I came here because of our charter. And those are all that are part of the university here. You know, our charter is near and dear to our heart. We're going to judge ourselves by the outcomes whom we include rather than whom we exclude, which really resonates with me as a black man who's lived in this skin for 53 years in this nation. Now, Wakanda forever, Wakanda forever, Wakanda forever. So I'm going to give you my origin story because that's all I got right now. I've only been here for 2 months. I don't even know what building I'm in. Is this a basketball arena? I don't know what's going on. But in all seriousness, I just want to tell you my origin story. Plus, who would want to put the head on T'Challa, right? I mean, that's the coolest thing in the world. All right, so here's a little bit of my origin story. I'm going to go back. How far back? Great-great-grandfather, Amos Howard, was a slave. I've said this so many times in my life, and I will never stop saying it, and I'll never tear up a little bit inside when I say that. My great-great-grandfather was no different than the butts your chairs are on today. My great-great-grandfather was chattel. He was property. There were horses, there were mules, and there were Negroes. They were lucky to be called that. That man was 15 years old when the Civil War ended. My father actually knew him, remembered him, and what a legacy. That's the first generation that we have. We talk about generational wealth and what have you, generational health. That's where we kind of start off. That's my origin story. Two generations later, that's Casey and Sarah Howard. That's my grandma and granddad. We call them Big Mama and Big Daddy, right? Big Mama was kind of big. Big Daddy was not so big. Years ago, I was riding around when Big Mama and Big Daddy had passed away in East Texas, and she kept pointing out, well, we used to live here, we used to live here, and we used to live here. I had 7 uncles and aunts on my dad's side. And this is, like I said, in East Texas. And I said, Big Mama, why did we keep moving so much? Why did the families keep moving so much throughout this area? Because we counted like 10, 12 places. She goes, well, because Casey kept telling white people that when they were cheating him, that they were cheating him and they would tell him to get off his land. So he was a sharecropper. You share the crop. Ain't much sharing going on. So you pick, you present, the sharecropper goes, well, actually, you owe me money. And my grandfather, Casey, Big Daddy, would say, no, I don't. He said, get your off my land. And they kept moving until he got a job in a factory. Lone Star pipe fitting in East Texas. It's a story that resonates in lots of points of this country, where you get an opportunity to actually match your intellect and your labor with some resources. So that got us literally out of the cotton fields. That's my grandfather, and I knew him very, very well. Next, that's my dad when he served in Vietnam. Lost him 3 years ago, rest in peace, Marvin. But I mentioned my dad because he was in the first generation to go to college. Prairie View A&M, historically black college. And what's powerful about this story is that my dad is the result of a government program. Which one? The Morale Act of 1865, which created land-grant schools, land-grant universities. A few years later, some HBCUs were included, like Tuskegee and Prairie View. And then my dad got a full ride to Prairie View, and he served his country in Vietnam, became the first African-American to be an industrial engineer at UPS, and rose up and bought a lot of stock in the company and retired young and played a lot of golf, which was a good thing. But I say this because we talk about PPP, we talk about the GI Bill, we talk about the Morale Act of 1862, we talk about the Build Back Better. Government programs can help create wealth for black and brown people if we do it right. I'm on this stage because of a government program. Government programs are not bad words. I don't care if you're an R, a D, an I, an L, a P, an M, a Z, a Q, an ESPN, and I don't know. Whatever you are, government programs can work if we tap into them appropriately. My dad got a degree, first generation to go to college. But my superhero is my mom. She's a real hero. That's Carolyn Howard, those nappy-headed, those boys. Sorry, I can say nappy-headed because we were nappy-headed back then. That's me and my big brother, Reggie, and my mom in the middle. She went to school. I just got to mention her because the grit and determination to make black folk is something I'm very, very proud of. My mom finished up, so my mom, I say it this way, she grew up in Central Texas. Her name is Carolyn Howard. When she was in 9th grade, they lived in a place near College Station, not too far from Texas A&M in Baylor. When she was in 9th grade, they always had an outhouse. They didn't have indoor plumbing. This is my mom growing up. They didn't have indoor plumbing. And then I read in her COVID memoir, because I was willing to read your COVID memoirs, and I didn't know this, that my grandfather ran out of money and they couldn't pay the electric bill, so for about a year, they didn't have electricity. So her 9th grade year, here's the optic. Outhouse, no electricity. My mom was valedictorian in her school. You think my brother can make any excuse about anything. Mom, we don't want to cut the yard. Get out and cut the yard. Y'all got electricity? You going to cut that yard, boy. So was this a mindset? The mindset was we're not going to make excuses for things we don't have. All we're going to do is figure out a way. Because where there's a will, there's a way. Even if you don't have electricity, and even if you have indoor plumbing. She was valedictorian at her school, and my mom likes to remind my dad he was only salutatorian at his. They met at Prairie View. She left early. She got married to my dad. He had kids. She went to school off and on for 17 years. She graduated. My brother's a year older than me. He played football at Baylor. She graduated from college the year my brother graduated from high school. 386, magna cum laude. Thank you very much. University of Texas at Dallas. What a great symbol of hashtag Black Women Excellence. Women, and she, PTA, helped rewrite the Constitution of our city. All the cooks, bake sales, treasurer for the first African-American to win city council member in our town. She just got it. She was Superwoman before there was a Superwoman, right? So that's what I saw growing up. I wanted to mention this. That's part of my origin story. So I believe in the power of women, and I believe in the power. I'm a feminist. I believe in the power of women, and I believe in the power of women of color. And by the way, there are 5 of us working for Michael Crow right now. There are 5 EVPs, and 3 of us, there are 3 people of color, and 2 of them are women of color. That says a lot about this ground we're standing on right now, and we're just getting started. So that's a pretty cool thing. So, a path to citizenship, as I think about my narrative, my story, we talk about Black history, and sometimes we think about it some reason that it's separate. But Black people have been there from the beginning. So Salem Poor was a hero of the American Revolution. You saw my dad as a military person. You heard my background. I put these images up because I grew up reading Ebony magazine. Those of y'all that are a certain age, remember when Ebony magazine was like that big? And it got smaller and smaller now. So I used to be the old biggie, about the old big issue of turn the page. So I started reading about Salem Poor and Crispus Attucks and Peter Salem, and how that idea is that we shed our blood and our tears to make this country great. I just like to lift that up, going back to the American Revolution, going back to the 9th and 10th Cavalry, who came out here out west as the Buffalo Soldiers, and the first Black Congressional Medal of Honor winner was a 9th Cavalry person who came out in this area and fought, and called the Buffalo because the Native Americans, the original people, said, they had the heart of the buffalo. People like that kind of inspired me. The Tuskegee Airmen escorted white bombers in World War II on flights, never lost any when they were escorting them, but when they came back home, they were treated like second-class citizens. And there is Colonel Charles McGee, promoted by President Trump to General Charles McGee before he passed away, and the big brother on the right of him, that's my college roommate. I was a running back, he was a fullback, and that's General Rodney Lewis. That's when he only had 1 star, now he's a 2-star. That's my boy Rodney. I got to brag on Rodney a little bit. A lot of legacy. And the takeaway from all that for me is, there's a quote from Frederick Douglass. It says, "Let the black man put upon him the black coat and the gold buttons with the eagle, and let somebody tell them that they're not a citizen. Tell them that they're not a man." I don't want to be sexist about it, but we as people have always tried to prove our worth. And it's hard to have wealth if you're not sure about your worth, right? And so the military has been part of that in my origin story. I just share that with you now. I'm going to transition here. So all that leads up to the American dream realized, from 4 or 5 generations removed, going from being the great-great-grandson of a slave to leading not just 1, but leading 2 universities. I say this, only in America, only in this country with all its flaws, let America be what America must be. As James Baldwin said, and as Lincoln said, the Union is not yet perfected. But this is pretty good stuff, and it's a pretty powerful narrative. So, thank you very much. Thank you. So, I've given this quote recently, and I gave it in front of President Crow, and I'll tell you a little about that in a second. There's a great book by W.B. Du Bois, who wrote in the book called The Soul of Black Folk. He said, the problem of the 20th century is the problem of race. What does it feel like to be a problem? And it's a compelling narrative because I don't see problems out here. I see hopes and dreams and aspirations. But it was a wonderful, powerful intellectual question. And I think about it in terms of as a black man with 2 black sons. Actually, they're 2 black sons when they misbehave. They're my sons when they behave. They're my wife's sons when they misbehave. But anyway, and the thinking is that in America, we get it right with black men, we're going to get it right with everybody. And as educators, we have a specific emphasis and need to make sure we get it right with black men and men of color because the challenges have been there. Michael said he's read this book 20 times. And he talked about this in a talk recently. He actually wept a little bit when he said that when he realized that W.B. Du Bois realized he was 7 years old, he was actually black. He didn't know it before that. And Michael says, I wept when I read that because I knew what that meant. because he felt like I was powerless. And Michael says, I grew up kind of a poor white guy in Missouri, that I kind of felt powerless. It was I said, I knew I'm in the right place when my president can, shed a few tears in public about reading it 20 times. I read it 21 times, but that's a different story. Don't tell him I said that, I'm just kidding. Okay, so that's Xavier right there, Hickman. He's the good-looking guy on the left. I say an African-American, getting a degree, that's like an endangered species, right? Graduation, retention rate, graduation, 6-year graduation rate for African-American men. What do y'all think it is? What is the average graduation rate, 6-year graduation rate for public university students in general? Anybody know, roughly? Sharon, you can't answer, you know? You can't answer, because you know this is your job. What's it roughly? 60, 62, 60, 61, 62%. For black men? 20-something close, 34, 35%, less than 40%, 35%, right? Think about the disparity. The average person who comes to college that's not a black man graduates at 60%, 62% rate. Black men, 34, 33%. Wow. Houston, we got a problem. We got to do something about it, right? So I think about that all the time. That draws me to this job. I want to support all students, faculty and staff, alumni of Arizona State, of the Maroon and Gold. I'm in the Maroon and Gold party, right? I got my tie and everything. But we got to think about black men, because if we don't, who's going to think about them? So you see here those graduation rates for black men. I got a pointer here. Let me see, is that going to point? Is there a pointer here or not? No pointer. Okay, I'll point with my finger. That's that 34% number. I said it a second ago. So we think about that a lot, and I think that I know that we're doing a lot of great work here to improve that number at Arizona State, but we got to work harder, right? We have to improve that number in order for us to help produce the people that the panel talked about before, so they can be financially literate and prepared for 21st century entrepreneurial opportunities and corporate opportunities and just great standard of living opportunities. So I'm going to move fast. Here's a Georgetown Workforce Center. 65% of all jobs by 2020, it's a little dated, will require some form of post-secondary education. And we at Arizona State are committed to not just degrees like master's and doctorates and bachelor's degrees, but also micro-credentials, upskilling, certificates, et cetera, online, in person, synchronized, asynchronous, et cetera. We are committed to this. It's going to make a real big difference. And we have an opportunity here, because you look at number 2 in terms of the best performing U.S. labor markets. Phoenix is number 2. I would say this, a couple weeks ago, the fastest growing county in the country, we're trying to buy a house, so we know, is Maricopa. And number 2 is where my mom is right now. That's Collin County in Texas. So we have a neat opportunity here because there's so much explosive growth. I'm going to move through this pretty quickly. I have a joke. It says that now black and brown are kind of the new green, because people need people so, it's not desperately, so intentionally, so intently that, if you can bring skills of literacy, communication, customer service, and just a little grit, there is a job for you. It's like Oprah. You're getting a job, you're getting a job, you're getting a job, I'm getting a job. Let's move through this. Okay. So one of the things I like to talk with Sharon about this is focusing on retention. Is very, very important. That it's not just 2, it's 2 and through. I mentioned Reed Hastings here at Netflix. That we need to use technology in order to enhance retention opportunities. We've done that here at ASU. We've done that at Robert Morris University. We need that tech to alert. If you watch the old TV show Lost in Space, we need that technology to alert touch, right? The old danger, Will Robinson, danger. Something's going wrong, something flashes. We can help our students when they're early and at risk. And this is just a little fun, quick aside. I'll do it very quickly. That's me. This is Henry Crown Fellowship at the Aspen Institute, 20 top leaders, most of them entrepreneurs, about 20 years ago. Near me is Reed Hastings, the guy that founded Netflix. Great guy, ended up giving us $3 million for minority students at Robert Morris University. This is Charlie Bobenskroy, who is a very sad guy because he was the investment banker that when Reed says, I want to IPO, he was at Solomon Brothers, and he went to his investment committee, and they said, we're going to pass. Woo! And every time they see each other, it's like Charlie goes to Reed, let me tell you how many millions of dollars I missed on not investing in Netflix, although they did have a bad day yesterday. But Reed was a great guy. But tech leads to touch. The touch part is the idea of being in people's spaces and not in their faces. Again, I'm moving through this very quickly just to say that I was speaking at the Watt School of Public Service yesterday, and I said the case worker model is what we've adopted in higher education to ensure that students thrive. We have to have wraparound services to make sure that they have food, clothing, water, things are going okay back home so they can learn. And so I respect the intentionality that ASU has taken to do that. I've seen that as a military person, and we did it back at RMU. I'm just pointing that out. It's tech in touch. And also the point that, the idea that for school to work, students need to, and this is true for all types of students, connecting something inside the classroom to something outside the classroom. That's what I love about these entrepreneurial things we do here. E&I here, Jemai, I think is her name. When you have students that are in the classroom learning algebra or learning something in STEM and applying it in an entrepreneurial setting, they're much more likely to be engaged, and it's a great model to move forward with and get greater outcomes. Quickly, so I talked about tech in touch. Here's toughness, and we'll do tenderness very quickly. That's David Motley, a good friend of mine from Pittsburgh. He had a great line. He said 1970, he's class of 1979 at Pitt. He said, class 79 at Pitt. He said, and when later went on to Harvard Business School, he says, Chris, I was sitting in the Pitt classroom, and I was one of the few black engineering majors there. And he said, I was sitting in the back of the room. He says, an associate dean walked by, one of the only black associate dean on the staff, saw me and just waited for me after class. I walked by, the dean pounced on me. Come in my office. Why? Come in my office. Goes in his office. He says, Mr. Motley, yes, sir, understand this. What's that? You're an African-American male student in engineering at Pitt. You sit in the front row. You have no choice. Why is that? This is so politically incorrect. You sit in the black row because I said you're an African-American male doing engineering at Pitt. You need to know that you need everything to wrap around you, things you don't even, microaggressions and things that you didn't even imagine. You need every opportunity to be successful. Is it fair? No. Do we have to work hard as EVPs and presidents and deans and what have you to make it more fair? Yes. But sit in the front row. And that's toughness. But hey, we're in Sun Devil Stadium. We got to be tough, right? That's what we stand for. So as I talk to young people, I make it humorous, but I say, and I tell my kids, y'all sit in the front row. It makes a difference. So that's a little bit of toughness we got to bring. And then here's a tenderness comment, and that is that, excuse me, as much as we want to be tough-minded and make sure people do the right thing, I go back to what Malcolm X said, and I think about, this rolls back into the AI piece. Now we use technology to help people get on pathways. This is a story about Malcolm X in the autobiography of Malcolm X when he sits there. He's Malcolm Little. He's living in in Nebraska. He is in, I think, 7th grade. He's student body president. He's the only black kid in his class. And he's a very, very successful student. He goes into the counselor, and they do a test to see what he wants to be when he grows up. And he wants to be a lawyer. And his counselor looks him in the eye and says, ends can't be lawyers, right? Ends can't be lawyers. And what a powerful commentary on our society when you do all the right things that people tell you can't be that. So the tenderness factor comes in to juxtapose the tech piece, because some of these algorithms that some of our beautiful coders write, they have some implicit bias in them. So we have to be wary of that. So they don't spit out things that tell people that you, Malcolm Little, can't be that because you need to work with your hands because you're a certain color. We think that was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But if you start breaking down some of this code, and I was in Pittsburgh at Carnegie Mellon with some of the smartest coders in the world, they tell you, be very, very aware of this. Almost done, folks, and I thank you for hanging with me. I love the fact that our Arizona State University, your Arizona State University, has founded University Innovation Alliance, run by a wonderful person, Bridget Burns, who spun out as a fellow here at ASU to launch this program where public universities have committed to having commensurate outcomes for white students and students of color in terms of 6-year graduation rates. It is awesome, and it is a commitment that we've made as a university, and now they have some HBCUs involved, and that's a commitment that we've made at the university level, and I was doing a little podcast thing with them, or a Zoom call, but we're making a stand here in Sun Devil Nation that we're going to make sure we get those outcomes right. We're not there yet, but we're going to get there. I think that's about it. So, hey, forks up. Thanks for your time. I know I've gone over. I apologize, but thank you for your time. You all have a great day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Howard. Please, let's keep the applause going. What a keynote. We're excited and we're looking forward to seeing what you accomplish now that you are in Sun Devil Nation. No pressure. So with that, again, want to thank everybody who is here with us in person. It is such a privilege to be able to gather in person. And for all of those who are watching from home, because we do have a virtual audience as well, we also want to thank you for being with us this evening. And just some final words to say, we hope that tonight the conversation has sparked maybe a thought, an idea, a connection. How do we get our talented, passionate, motivated, capable, diverse learners, students, entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs on those pathways to successful businesses and high-paying careers? If you want to have those conversations, please do reach out. That's what we do here at Access ASU along with our partners. And with that, I want to say thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. And stay tuned. We will have another Black Changemaker Speaker Series coming for all of you in the fall. Have a good evening. Get home safe.